This is where I want to start. The woman who runs Human Rights Campaign, this group that used to be all about gay rights, but now is transmogrified into all about trans rights. Her name is Kelly Robinson, and she sent out a tweet not long ago that I see often from these trans activists. And her tweet read, "Trans women are women. That's it. That's the tweet." It's a lie. And the more I read your book, the more I came to realize why the lie is so important to their activists and why it's so important for us on the side of reality and reason to call it out as a lie. That trans women are in fact men. They are biological men. They are men. And them trying to change that understanding it's for a reason, and it's critical to them winning this debate. Can you expand on that?
Sure. I mean, this is a movement that is entirely linguistic. I mean, we aren't actually able to change sex. Everyone who has ever thought about anything about human beings knows we're mammals. We know we evolved that way, and mammals can't change sex. You're conceived male or female, and that's what you're going to grow up. You can, a man who castrates himself does not become a woman. A woman who has a neophallus crafted out of her thigh and stitched onto her groin does not become a man. We all know that. So the only meaning that you can give to statements like trans women are women is a linguistic one. It's all about words, that we're changing the definition of words, and that by changing the words, we change the reality. And that's why this is a movement that is so keen on censoring people. Because as far as they're concerned, when you say, as you just did, no, trans women are men, that speech act is creating a reality that they don't like. And so they must silence you to give space for the speech act that they like, which is trans women are women, full stop, no debate. That's it. That's the tweet. And by saying it, they think that creates reality. It's sort of a queer theory thing. It comes very much from universities, this postmodern turn, they call it, in which you think that everything is socially constructed, that everything is about language, that the words that you use can erase all sorts of inconvenient facts about the world, and you end up with the world that you want because it's the world that you're creating with your words.
We have lost the debate if we say women aren't allowed in women's bathrooms, women aren't allowed in women's prisons, in women's locker rooms. And that's their design. If we say men are not allowed in our private spaces, of course, that's accepted. Everybody understands why we don't want that. And you expand on that a lot in the book about how all of these single-sex spaces came to be in the first place for very good reason. And if you can just remember in your head that they came to be to protect women from men, which trans women are, then you understand why most women are very animated over this issue. And actually most Americans and most Brits who are now starting to pay attention are on the side of reason and understand that this is a dangerous, very slippery slope we're on. It's not about inclusion of them. It's about danger to us. That's the way to frame this, because that's what's really at issue here.
Exactly. And the word inclusion has become such a buzzword that we forget that a lot of things depend on exclusion, in particular definitions do. A definition of what a woman is necessarily excludes all men and vice versa. And yet when you say, oh, well, I want to be inclusive, well, who do you want to be inclusive of? If this space is only for children, it can't be inclusive of adults. If it's only for women, it can't be inclusive for men. That's just definitional. And yet, because everyone has got very bound up in the idea that inclusion is good and exclusion is bad, the language plays into their narrative that you're the meanie, you're excluding people. And you're like, well, of course I'm excluding them. This is meant to be a women-only space. Why would I include men? It can't be women only. I remember shortly after my book came out, going to an event and saying that I never imagined, I spent far too long in education, Megyn. I did a maths degree, and then I went on and did a PhD in mathematics, and I stayed and did a postdoc. And I never thought that I was going to spend the most important part of my working life saying, once you allow a man into a space for women, it ceases to be single sex, because this isn't even logical. It's just a truism. And yet I find myself saying, we can't allow people who aren't in a group into a space that's meant just for that group and keep it only for that group. Like sometimes I think the noise is not coming out of my mouth. Am I moving my lips and nothing's happening,
Right.
It's so very obvious.
Right. But this was, I actually, of course, because until this whole thing exploded, I never gave any thought to why we have women's bathrooms and women's locker rooms or changing rooms at the public pools. And you get into the stats on why. Excluding all males, you write, from places where women are at heightened risk of assault is a broad brush measure. And you write, justifying it does not require that all males are violent, but the stats show that of the people on this earth who are violent and who commit sexual assault, the scales are overwhelmingly weighted with men, not women. It's virtually all men. You write, sex offenders make up 19% of the 84,000 male prisoners, just 4% of the female ones. Women are around 5 times more likely than men to be the victim of a sexual crime, and men are 100 times more likely to be the perpetrator of a sexual crime. This is why we needed a safe space. Let's face it, if we're going to be pulling up our dresses and pulling down our pants and taking off our clothes, where we did not want anyone in that category to be near us.
And those statistics come from a time when we had single-sex spaces and when people didn't overstep the boundaries. So the 2 most common sex crimes are exhibitionism, which is showing your private parts to someone who doesn't want to see them, and voyeurism, which is looking at other people's naked bodies without consent. And so those statistics come from a time that those were difficult crimes to commit. But now, if a man can say he's a woman and enter a women-only space, he can commit voyeurism and exhibitionism with impunity. And he'll either not be registered as committing a crime at all, because, of course, if you go into a women's locker room, it's allowable to get undressed and you will see other people undressed. So it won't be recorded as a crime, or if it is, it'll be recorded as a crime by women. So the statistics are going to be messed up on top of everything else. And crime is often, many crimes are what's called crimes of opportunity. So it's not like there's a set amount of burglary out there or a set amount of voyeurism or exhibitionism. The amount of it depends on how easy it is to commit those crimes and how rewarding and how likely you are to be punished. And what we're doing is we're making it much, much, much easier for men to commit sex crimes against women, and much, much, much harder for women even to report them, let alone to get justice. So we can expect a big uptick in sex crimes by men against women. That's just the way it's going to play out.
Summer used to mean I was kicking off the sheets every night to try to stay cool. But that all changed when I discovered Cozy Earth bedding. Now I'm sleeping comfortably even on those hot, hot nights. And you can too. Simply swap out your current sheets for soft, breathable, temperature-regulating sheets from Cozy Earth, the brand with thousands of 5-star reviews, including my own. If you don't agree that you are sleeping cooler and more comfortably this summer, they will refund your purchase price, plus shipping, no questions asked. And you get 100 nights to try them and then return them if you don't like them. How can Cozy Earth make such a guarantee? Because their bedding is made from viscose from bamboo, so it traps less heat, and they know it, enabling people to sleep cooler and more comfortably year-round. For a limited time, you can save up to 40% on your Cozy Earth order. Go to CozyEarth.com, enter my promo code MEGYN, MEGYN, at checkout to save up to 40% right now. Try them for 100 nights. If you don't sleep cooler, send them on back in for a full refund. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.